Hey guys, so we have something special going on here today. My buddy Riley from Riley's Reptiles is up here, and unfortunately he had to be evacuated from his house down in Santa Barbara from the Thomas fires. So he brought his entire collection up here, and we're helping him out, keeping him here and keeping him safe. So we're glad he's safe. We're glad all of his animals are safe. But he's got some really cool animals that we don't personally keep, maybe yet, but maybe in the future. But we want to show you some of those animals and check them out and learn some stuff about them. So enjoy. All right, guys. So the first animal we're checking out of Riley's collection is his pair of Blacktail Colubrids. They're a really, really neat species that you don't see often enough in the hobby. Of course, both are in shed because that's just the way of things. So we got this awesome little girl here, and then we got this nice big male over here, and we're going to hear a little bit about them and have Riley explain how awesome these animals are.
So these guys are the Central American relatives to the more commonly fawned after Eastern indigo snakes, the all-black, largest North American colubrids that are such an amazing species. And these guys are no slouch in comparison to them as far as size, intelligence, and behavior goes. Very active animals, very gentle and docile. These guys are, big, powerful animals that know when they don't need to use that power. Unfortunately, because of the evacuation, this guy rubbed off some of his shed a little bit prematurely, but the beautiful thing with these guys is they are so active and they eat so much, he's going to shed in 5 or 6 weeks after a few more meals, and I won't even be able to see that, by the end of January or February. So they're very active, very intelligent, and they love watching you, but you have to give them space. You just can't keep them in small enclosures. This guy rubbed his nose in a pillowcase. So I keep this boy in a 6-foot vision. I kind of run them on ambient. I just try not to ever let them get over 80, 82 degrees. They're wonderful, very curious personality. She'll sit and watch me from the entrance of her hide and just kind of see what I'm about. Feeding time is no joke with these guys. Wear shoes and long pants when you feed them, because you'll find out exactly why. You don't want to be barefoot and wearing shorts with them real quick. But they're smart. They're wonderful. They're great with kids. They don't like it hot. They don't need big meals because they don't have those really elastic jaws to take in big meals. So feeding them, smaller items or multiple food items is definitely the way to go. But they grow fast. This guy's every bit of 7 feet at 4 years old. She'll be a bit smaller. She'll probably top out around 5.5 feet or so. And I'm hoping to breed these in, the next 2 years and get Travis even more hooked on them as we get going, and maybe branch into yellowtails and some of the Eastern indigos down the line. But for those of you who can't afford a big Eastern indigo snake but want a big, fun, active, intelligent species, Blacktail Colubrids, definitely my #1 recommendation. They're amazing.
Yeah, they're super cool. I mean, you mentioned one of the coolest things that in most boas and pythons is, the females are much larger than males. And this is one of those species that's a flip of that. The males are much larger than females, which is pretty interesting. Yeah, these guys are definitely going to be on the living legless reptiles list. They are on the wanted list. So anyway, on to the next one. All right, guys. So this here is a species you do not see very often. This is a Madagascar giant hognose. This is a species that I kept, many years ago, but these guys are really, really cool, and you do not see them in the hobby very often. So we wanted to check those guys out. So let's hear more about them.
So these guys are a hognose in the traditional sense, but quite different from our North American counterparts. And these guys, their evolutionary trajectory was quite independent from ours, and it's pretty easy to see why. Their scales are smooth, as opposed to the Westerns and Easterns and our North American species that have very keeled scalation. Typically, these guys are very black and transition into that gold checkerboard pattern, But, you know, this is a 4-foot male. Females can reach 6 feet. So, you know, those of us who are used to little Western hognose, these things dwarf them.
Right.
I mean, those things just look tiny. But these guys are you know, behaviorally quite similar. But, you know, they're a really unique species you don't see very often. There are a couple different subspecies and different Madagascar hognose species, but they're not the giants like these guys. It is difficult to track them down. They are a rear-fanged venomous colubrid, so for those of you who aren't aware, these guys are technically venomous. They do have fangs in the back of their jaws, but they're a very reluctant species in terms of biting. They'd rather go through a whole repertoire of behaviors, death feigning, bluff striking, the whole hooding like a cobra thing. So they are relatively safe, but it is something to be mindful of. And this is the first male I've been able to acquire. I've been looking for a little while for these guys, and I'm hoping to put together a small group of these guys and maybe learn some more about their behavior, because they're very secretive. Not much is known about their breeding, not much is known about them. But over in Madagascar, they're quite common, so there's a little bit of a disconnect in that education and that knowledge, and I'd like to sort of tap into some of that. They're a wonderful species, very curious and active, and just kind of a fringe, unique species that I just needed to scratch that itch for and learn some more about. So I'm hoping to, you know, go on that journey and see what happens. But these guys are a ton of fun, and this guy's doing well with the evacuation, so glad to see it.
So the next animal we're checking out is the children's python.
Not to be confused with pythons for children. These were actually named after a famous Australian herpetologist whose last name was Children. But these are Antaresia childreni. These are one of the smaller species of python. The entire Antaresia genus would make you rethink what your typical python is. Most people I encounter think of pythons as big retics and berms that are massive, but you know, there are some that stay under 3-4 feet. Pygmies, you got children's, you got your anthills. I mean, spotteds. All of these guys are pretty small, but don't let them fool you. There's a ton of personality in these small packages, and these guys are fantastic. But although they say they're children's pythons, they can be a little bit nippy. So, like I said, that doesn't mean they're for children. But these are 2-year-old animals, and this one is in shed. This is the male, and he eats like hoppers, which is like, you know, good size. He's eaten an adult mouse, but it's a lot of food for them. So for those of you who don't have a ton of space, Antaresia are a great choice.
Yeah, if you like pythons but you don't have a lot of space, I mean, these guys are really cool. I mean, they're a neat species that you just don't see often enough. I mean, they're really, really neat. So
yeah, this beautiful pair came from Andy Grossman at Pets at Sunset. You know Andy.
I do.
Top-notch guy, great quality animals, and if you're curious about these at all, I urge you to get some of these things, because I was on the fence and then I got some and I knew I had waited way too long. These things are fantastic.
Right
hint,
on.
hint, wink, wink.
Right. All right, guys. So as you guys, if you follow me, you know that I keep coastal carpets, brettles, and jungles. But I wanted to show you guys something a little different. These are 2 localities that I don't keep
Yet.
Maybe yet. So this I'm holding in Irian or Papuan carpet python, and he's got an albino Darwin carpet python. Both are really, really neat localities. Probably one of the coolest things I think, as far as, you know, a selling point on keeping, was they stay pretty small. Not that coastals or jungles or anything for that matter get that big, but these definitely tend to be on the smaller in comparison to you know, the other carpet subspecies. So I know a little bit about them, but if you want to talk on, you know.
Yeah, I mean, like any animal, you can really push their limits and get them bigger than what the average is. But if you're paying attention to their natural history and you're not really going at an unhealthy rate,
this one likes my beard.
They don't need to be big, and this is as big as this guy's gonna get. This is a 2-year-old male or so. He was a captive hatched animal from an imported female that ended up being gravid. So he's never known life outside of human care, but you know, it's nice new bloodlines. But this is exactly as you'd find them in the wild, and this male is as big as he needs to be, eating small rats at most. So I won't let him get bigger. He doesn't need to be bigger. And same here with the Darwins. I mean, you don't need massive females even. I mean, a female that stays within 6 feet is a perfectly healthy animal. You know, this girl can eat medium rats, and that suffices for, you know, several weeks at a time. And that's a big meal. And I would imagine that she's, you know, more than close to half or more than halfway done. She'll probably top out around 6 feet. But they don't need to be big. They don't need to be big fat animals. And in fact, from what I've gathered, it's harder to breed them when they're fat and lazy. So for those people who are concerned about, you know, the exceptional large coastal, which is definitely not the norm, and they want something that, you know, the wife and kids can feel a little more comfortable with, and they want some variety, Darwins and IJs are great. Even without the albinism, these things are beautiful animals in their own state naturally. And IJs, I mean, no morphs needed, although there are some great ones. You don't need it.
Yeah, for sure.
So I wanted to take a minute to sort of plug a project that I've been putting the groundwork in and getting going from a few ideas. But right here, I have a citrus tiger het albino female from Eric Burke at EB Morelia. So for those of you who are NPR fans, you'll know Eric's work, and you'll know the citrus tiger stuff is pretty unique. But a lot of coastal influence, high contrast Queensland, and then he did a wonderful thing by starting the groundwork on an albino project. So I decided to dip my pen in that company ink, and now I need more because these things scream. I mean, the camera will not do this girl justice, but the yellow, I mean, most people ask if she's a jungle, but predominantly coastal. There is Darwin in there from that albinism, but because of that high contrast, I think it will translate into a very pretty albino. So then I spent some time working on trying to find the right male for her without going straight back to Eric. So I ended up making a deal with Hesham from Magic Carpet about this boy right here, and this is a striped, possible super caramel albino male. Some of you would refer to these guys as a sunglow, possible super sunglow. I'm not so concerned about the super, possible super end of it. I wanted something that was visually albino and striping to pair with this girl. So hopefully in a couple years' time, these two will get together, have a nice dinner date, and make me some wonderful babies, complete with stripes, albinos. Non-visuals too. I'm actually really excited to see what that does with the caramel influence in there as well. And then you best believe I'll be going back to Eric to get some of his citrus tigers that are not related to the albinism project. But I wanted to take a minute to showcase this. So if anybody's looking for cool striped morph stuff, something kind of out there and unusual that not many people have, pay attention. A few years time we'll get you there. So cheers.
All right, guys. So we've been checking a lot of cool snakes that Riley keeps, but this little guy is really, really rad. So I used to keep monitors years and years ago, and unfortunately moved them out to move more snakes in. But having this guy here the last couple days has been really, really hitting me hard and wanting to get monitors again. So we'll hear about how rad this little guy is, and some of his care and things like that.
So everybody always talks about monitors being a ton of work, and that's no exaggeration. Even when you're talking about these smaller guys, and by small I mean not 6 feet, but this guy's not going to be a little lizard. He's already about 3 feet tip to tail, and he's only 2.5 years old. He's very smart. You really have to be on your P's and Q's with training these guys. You got to make sure they understand what you're about and what you expect of them. Otherwise, you could have a dangerous animal on your hands. But you also need to be patient with them. They're complex. They've got a lot going on. But if you're like me and you like behavior challenges and like learning about an animal, there's no greater feeling than doing that with a monitor and earning their trust. And I got this guy as a little thumb-sized hatchling, a couple years ago, and he didn't used to be, a big sweetheart like this. He used to run and hide as soon as he saw me. So, earning an animal's trust like this is quite a rewarding experience, but you also learn a ton. It's a little different. I don't have too many lizards. They're a little bit more high maintenance and upkeep, and he needs a lot of space and a lot of socialization. It's not snakes where you can just feed and clean once or twice a week and, call it good. This guy needs, interaction, but it's very fun. And, he's going to get to be a good size. 4 feet isn't a little lizard. But it's something to think about, when everybody's going out getting those little tiny baby monitors. Are cute and really colorful at that age, and, they require work. Otherwise, you're going to have a really grumpy animal that could hurt you, even little guys. So they deserve as much respect and attention to detail as any snake does, but, man, they're rewarding when you get it right. They're a ton of fun. And this guy here, he's a little shy. He's a little unsettled about being out of his element for a few days, but all things considered, he knows what's going on, and he can discern threats from non-threats, and he's kind of just rolling with it, and he's absorbing this, and it's strengthening our bond. I mean, if you want an animal that's like loving you like a dog, monitor lizards are very impressive like that, but he's just fun, different, and hopefully he'll be one of my ambassador animals going to schools and presentations, and we'll get to see more of him in the future, and maybe I'll let Travis borrow him once in a while.
Yeah, just get my monitor fix in there.
There you go.
Yeah. So we checked out a lot of cool animals that Riley has in his collection. Unfortunately, he has a very big collection, so we can't check it all out. But where can we find you? I mean, social media-wise and things.
Yeah, I'm on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Look me up under Riley's Reptiles on YouTube. I've got a channel. I don't have a ton of content like Mr. Brian Cusco, but I'm working on it. Put it out there when I can. Instagram is Riley's Reptiles. Facebook is Riley's Reptiles. And then I have a website currently at rileysreptiles.weebly.com. Trying to stay on top of updating that, trying to grow and improve the business and get things going, but I'm also working full time outside of this collection, so it does what it can, and it grows as it does, and we'll get there. But if people message me on Facebook, Instagram, leave comments on YouTube, I try to be pretty on top of all of that stuff. I'll even throw my cell phone number out here if you guys want to get a hold of me, 650-483-1003. Text me, call me. If I tell you that my girlfriend's pissed at me and I gotta go, and I'll call you later, don't be offended, because I also have a life outside of reptiles. But yeah, I love chatting, talking to people, monitors, whatever. If I have any insight in there, I'll throw it out there, but I am no expert. But yeah, if anybody wants any questions answered, I'm always happy to give it my best shot. But yeah, social media is a good way to do it.
Awesome. Well, thanks for having you out here. I unfortunately under bad circumstances, but it's always a blast having you, and playing with your animals is always a blast. So hope you guys enjoyed all those cool animals that we checked out. You guys have a great day. Hey guys, so this is Hey guys, so today we have something really special. My buddy Riley from Riley's Reptiles is up here. He unfortunately had to be evacuated from his fucking ass. That was my concern about doing both of those together. Is I thought I'm gonna slip up at the end, and then
Travis's house. We like this place. He cooks scrambled eggs for us in the morning.
Oh, whoops.